said it before and I'll say it again. For a long time now, I'm totally disenfranchised with the political establishment that governs us and is supposed to answer to our whims and take care of our concerns. It's broken. It's just a busted flush, whatever you want to call it. We're approaching what I'd call a critical point in our history. You see, like any badly run business, they make bad decision after bad decision, time and time again, and then try and conveniently blame the other side for something they did when they were in charge of the office. And it just stacks up like a layer cake all the time until eventually, of course, something gives. People wake up, people see what's going on, and we have a complete sham that's governing this country. There's no longer left, there's no longer right. There's just a rabble, all with similar ideals, similar ideologies, and they all want the keys to number 10. It's a disgrace. Some would argue that it's part of a bigger picture, a bigger plan, and I guess with anything, time will tell. Well, we had a bit of an event over the last few days, didn't we? Which was all too predictable, in that Lee Anderson defected to Reform UK. And I asked in a poll to the subscribers what you actually thought of this. And here's the results. You can see, do you agree with Lee Anderson defecting to Reform? 6,600 of you voted. 85% of you said, yes, you do agree. So there you go. That's a very large portion. That's nearly everybody, in fact, isn't it? Now, I think an established political name like Lee Anderson will probably be good for Reform to have somebody in the House of Commons. But what the telling point will be is if and when there is a general election, will he keep his seat? Will anybody that crosses the floor keep their seat? I'm very sceptical personally about other MPs, be it Tory or Labour, going to Reform, because the key surely is in the name, Reform. That is exactly what it should be. Reform the party, reform the system, reform the way we are governed. And it appears to be a possible safety valve for disenchanted politicians who are scared of losing their job. And it's not really something the British public deserve or want. Although I want to give it every opportunity to work, to flourish, and could it do something? But if you feel as I do, maybe the only way is I do not consent. Well, there's a couple of headlines. More Tory MPs in talks to defect. The Reform UK leader hints if the Prime Minister doesn't call an election within days, more Conservatives will join his party. And talking of an election within days, here's another thing here. Rishi Sunak will call snap election if 10 Tory MPs defect to Reform UK, a top Tory claims. Now, it's quite obvious that this unelected Prime Minister of ours might be out of a job very soon, wouldn't you think? And I do worry very much for the future survivability of the Tories. I think they're done, personally, the way it looks at the moment, barring any miracles. And of course, the way people think in this country will end up with a Labour government. We've seen a couple of by-elections where 60-odd% of an electorate won't come out and vote because they're cheesed off with it all. And they could make a difference. Therefore, we have a small percentage of voters just doing what they always do. I had a conversation with somebody the other day saying, I'm going to vote Conservative because that's what I've always done. Why would you do that? Why would you vote for them? Why would you vote for Labour? Why? They stuffed it up, all of them. It's time for change. Anyway, I want to run through some of the comments that you made on that poll, because it's always interesting to see what you have to say. So here we go. Right, Stum8374. The Tories have lost all credibility. When they not the UK voted for, the last 3 PMs who were all against Britain were all for foreigners. Good on Lee. I hope Reform gives the establishment a 2-fingered salute. Well, let's hope it's the Reform that it appears to be. Chris, the house of cards has started to fall. We want our country back sooner rather than later. You know, this is the feeling, isn't it? User, he is an honest, hard-working MP. Shame the Tories have turned into such wimps. Good luck, Lee. I mean, the telling story for me was when he used boulders to stop the travellers camping out. That's when he got in trouble with Labour and jumped ship. C. Lawrence, we need our country back. We don't need dinghies being controlled by the WEF or the WHO. We need to be listened to in Parliament. So, yes, he's listened. I would support him. This is the thing, isn't it? We elect somebody to represent our best interests in that house, and you wonder whether that's happening. Rob Lloyd, well done to Lee. The Tories are dead in the water. Sabina, we want our country back. Lee speaks the truth for the British people, and this corrupt government doesn't like it. Stephen, I voted yes because of these reasons. When he spoke out the truth about London protests and calm, the Conservative Party outed him. Since then, his so-called party colleagues have made it abundantly clear on them, distancing themselves from Lee. Country first, constituency second, party third. Lee is talking like a true Brit now he's thrown off the shackles of the treacherous Tory party. Yeah, a lot of the time they go with what's good for the party rather than what's good for the country, and therefore their constituents. That's quite obvious. Froggy Wrench, love the screen name. He's made the right decision. Let's hope some others follow. Never a better time to vote reform. Glue Hooth, he's one of the very few MPs willing to speak out against the real and present threat in this country. The Tory party silenced him for daring to represent constituents. Reform will let our voices be heard through him. Barry Williams, yes, it's great to have him on board. Vote reform. In the main, you're all positive about this. Very positive. Band again, as Lee said, it's an MP's job to represent the voters' views, not a wishy-washy party, but the people who voted him in as their representative, not as a party puppet. User, the wind of change is blowing a little bit stronger now. All Europe and USA are turning right. I will vote for reform when the election comes. I think the point, it's important that you get out there and exercise that right, even if it is I do not consent. You've got to exercise that right. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck. Robin, we need a change. The three main parties are no change there. Huge costs of immigration, net zero, which has killed the construction industry. Not much point in building houses. It will be 10 years before you cannot connect them to electricity supply for 15 years. Congratulations, Mr. Anderson. Your voice is loud and clear. English Cad, great. He got airtime and got his message across. You could almost hear 80% of the country saying, quite right about bloody time. Well, if this poll's anything to go by, and that's only 6,000 of you. Michael Cato, if you support a party because of their core values and then they change, it is not disloyalty to follow your core values. I'm a 77-year-old lifelong Conservative voter. The current Conservative Party are so far away from that which I support. Their time in office did not start brilliantly and has declined at an alarming rate. The reform contract has my support. The UK needs a good shake-up. The reality to reality. He's done the right thing. We need our country back. That's Dean Mitchell. 2012, we want our country back. Lee has taken the first step. We must all follow. Paul British, Lee Anderson is speaking the truth. God bless him. We want our country back. And the last one, Man C United. One of only a handful of politicians who actually gets the mood of the country. Every word he spoke at the conference is exactly how I feel. Finally, someone who represents the real Great Britain and British patriots. The fight back against the left and Britain Brigade starts now. This is a moment for all disillusioned voters to grasp and get behind reform. Only the brave who stand up to be counted and want change can make it happen. As Lee quite rightly says, we want our country back. Well, that seems to be your feelings right across the board here. Now, how do we vote? Why do we vote? I come from a conservative voting family, and when I turned 18, I voted Conservative because I didn't know anything else, you know. And over the next 20 or 30 years, your life takes you to experiences, corners, and other stuff that you wouldn't necessarily appreciate when you're 18 and don't know anything about the world. You know, I'm ashamed to admit 20 years ago or thereabouts, an election in my 20s, I did actually vote Labour once and then realised, oh my God, what have I done? What a mistake. But, you know, over the last probably decade at least, I've realised and come to understand that what we have now doesn't work. We all argue that because of the first past the post system, you will only ever get Tory or Labour. That's how it's rigged. But you look at the number of people in the by-elections that quite simply did not come out to say their piece, did not come out to vote. If that changed, if they were encouraged and said, look, we've got an opportunity here to make a real difference, you imagine the possibilities. Let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, it's good to hear your piece, your opinion. Here's another video just popped up for you. Thank you. And as always, I look forward to talking to you again soon. Toodaloo.